Welcome to Real Learning Center, where we focus on real learning. So this is the second episode of a Fruit to Root dialogue series. In the first one, we discussed about the fruits, and we asked a question on why do trees give us fruits? And when we went to a biologist, we got a very nice answer to that question and very satisfying answer. So now I want to actually put forward a second question. This second question is based on some experience, personal experience of childhood. So in our childhood, we used to actually go around and play along the plants and the trees and all that. So we knew that very well that if you take a seed and plant it, you get put it in the soil and put some water. Finally, some sampling will come and it will actually grow into a plant or a tree. This part we knew. So we had this doubt though on what happens if I try to do, let's say, take two different kinds of seeds. Like for example, in my hand I have a pea plant seed. If I open it up, I will actually get the seed of the pea plant. And I also have in my left hand what we call as a pigeon pea, okay, turda in Hindi we say. So what if I take, for example, the one seed from here and seed from here, and what we tried in the childhood was to take these two seeds and put them together, gum it up and tie it up and put it inside the soil, and hoping to see whether we get a combined tree. And unfortunately it didn't happen. Actually it grew, two different saplings came, and they became two different kind of plants. So whatever we wanted to do did not happen. So we were a little bit disappointed. Then we thought we'll do another experiment. We took this seed, which is basically pea seed, and this can be, if you take it and you can cut it into half, okay, you can cut it into two parts. We made it into two parts, okay. After making it into two parts, this also we made into two parts, okay, because it's supposed to be dicotyledon. And then we connected one part from here and one part from here and joined them, okay, and we put some gum in between and tie it up. And our idea was, suppose if I put this into the soil and grow it, maybe we will get a plant in which either we get both kinds of products, or we call peas and pigeon pea, or maybe same one kind of thing which has a combination of these. But unfortunately what happened was it didn't grow at all. We didn't get any plant. So we were like wondering, why is it so? So what part of the seed will grow into a plant? How does seed can grow into a bigger tree or a plant? What is there inside that? If at all, if I want to mix them, what do I mix? How do I make sure that how is it that a pea seed only give rise to a pea plant and not something else? What is hidden inside that? So this question was actually bothering when we were children, and today maybe this question is bothering many of the students also. So today it is an opportunity for us. We are going to meet our biologist who can tell us an answer to this question. So let's hope she'll satisfy us today with her answers. So let's wait for the answer. Okay, thank you.
Welcome to Real Learning Center. Today we have come up with a new question for which I would like to answer using the biology in nature. We all of us know that seeds come from flowers. So there has to be flower. This flower, which gets pollinated, gives rise to fruits, and inside the fruits we have seen that there is a hidden secret message of the plant, which is the seed. So the seed carries all the information to give rise to a new plant. So what is there in the seed to give rise to a new plant? Let us first understand that question, and then what we will do is we will try to answer the question that is being asked. If you just look at any seed, we see that the seed is made up of many substances. Yes. Now, if you have seen any seed, you see that it has one outer covering which we call as seed coat. So, there is one seed coat. Inside the seed coat, we see some part of the seed which is going to give rise to a plant. Let us try to first find out what is there inside the seed which has the ability to give rise to a new plant. So, what you see here in front of me right now is a seed that was soaked in water for almost 8 to 10 hours, and after I soak it for 8 to 10 hours, I see that the green color of the seed breaks open. Yes, now this green color coat of the seed is what we call as the seed coat. So, the green color one that we are seeing here is the seed coat, which generally after the seed is kind of soaked well and starts growing, the seed coat just ruptures. So, we see that the seed coat ruptures like this, right? You see that the seed coat is ruptured. Now, if I try to take out the seed coat and find out what is there inside this, I see that this seed coat, once it breaks open, I can actually break it into two more or less equal halves. Let us try doing that. So, I have the seed here. I am trying to break open the seed coat. So, the seed coat has come out, and when I have the seed coat that's already come out, I see some white structure here. Now, you can see that it is kind of well soaked, and I can easily divide this into two equal halves. Now, when I can divide this into two equal halves, we call that as a dicotyledon. I'll let you know what cotyledon actually means. Now, since I can break this equally into two halves, we call this as dicotyledon. So, here you see that there are two equal halves, and in between you see some structure that is growing here. You can see some structure that is growing here, and this is actually called as the embryo of the plant. This is called as the embryo of the plant. Now, this embryo of the plant is so important because the embryo is going to give rise to a new plant. So, what is this white region that is there here? Now, this region is our endosperm. You can see the white region here. You see that is the endosperm, and endosperms generally is rich in proteins. It is rich in oil content, or some of them will store starch content, and all this nutrition, maybe proteins or oil or the carbohydrates, all this is used up by the growing embryo, and the growing embryo eats all this food and becomes mature and becomes ripened. So, the seed is ripened now. So, here you see that the whole of the plant is inside this embryo. If you just look at the seed neatly, you see a small white structure that is present inside the seed. And that small white part of the seed starts growing to give me a hair-like structure. Now this whole region of the seed is the embryo of the seed and can be divided into three distinct regions. The first region is called as the hypocotyl. The second region is what we call as the radicle. So what you are seeing here is the radicle. And just next to that you see a small white region, and that is what we call as epicotyl. Now this part of the embryo is very important, because when it's ripened, I am going to get a new plant or a new tree. How is that going to happen? Now that is going to happen by a series of growth conditions, growth developments that we see in the seed. The first thing that we generally see is the seed will absorb water, will absorb moisture, and then it becomes ripened. Once the seed is ripened and the seed feels that this is the right environment for it to grow, what we see is it starts increasing its size. And when it starts increasing its size, the first thing that would happen is that the seed coat is lost. Let us see that seed now. So in this particular seed, you see that the seed coat is almost lost, and you see that the embryo of the seed is kind of growing. Now when the seed absorbs water and the embryo is about to ripen, what you generally see is, you see that the embryo starts elongating and it increases in size. So here you see that there is growth of the embryo. You see the next stage. You see that it is grown longer. Now this part of the seed which grows first, which comes out first of the embryo and will generally form the root of the plant, is our radicle. Radicle gives rise to roots, and radicle, along with radicle, we see there is one more region which comes out of this seed, and that is our plumule. Now plumule grows into shoot. Now the root and the shoot, they do not grow simultaneously. Always the radicle grows longer, gives rise to the root first, and after some time, when the root is kind of gone deep inside the soil and has grown enough to absorb all the nutrients, we see that the plumule grows into the shoot. You would have seen that there are two small leaves attached to this seed, and that leaves actually come from the cotyledons of the seed. So cotyledons basically are that region of the seed which are giving rise to two seeds, two premature leaves, and these leaves are very important because they carry out photosynthesis for the growing plant. And once it starts photosynthesizing, we see that the plant grows both in its roots as well as in its shoot, develops its own roots and its own shoots. So this way the seed has an embryo which has the ability to give rise to a new plant. Right? Now if the seed has the potential to give rise to a new plant and the embryo is giving rise to new plant, how does the embryo survive? The embryo has to survive, it has to grow, it has to ripen. Now all this is provided by a small region in the seed which we call as endosperm. Endosperm, which is very closely associated with the cotyledons. We see that this endosperm is giving rise to all the nutrition that the growing embryo requires, be it nutrients in the form of minerals, in the form of proteins, in the form of oils, or whatever. So this endosperm is a very important part of the seed because it protects the seed and it also nurtures the seed. The tender coconut that we drink, we always say that if we drink tender coconut when we are tired, it gives us instant energy. And actually speaking, the tender coconut is the endosperm. Okay, if I leave it for some more time, you see that the tender coconut becomes the white fleshy mass inside the coconut. That is the endosperm. So endosperm is rich in nutrients, rich in proteins, and that is what we take. Now let us go back to the question that we were asked. The question that was asked to us was, if I break open one of the seed and plant it, it doesn't give rise to a new plant. Why does that happen? Now I have a pea which is taken from the pea pod. So I have taken the pea pod, I have taken one pea from that, and if I just try to break this open, you see that there is a seed coat. Let us see the seed coat here. So here we have the pea seed in which we have taken out the seed coat, and right in front of us we have a seed of pea which is devoid of the seed coat. Now here you can see that there is a small growth tail-like structure that is here. Now this is the embryo of the seed. So here we have the embryo of the seed, and if I just break this open here, I have two pieces of the seed. Therefore this has to be a dicotyledon, right? Because it can be equally divided into two halves. And here you see the embryo. So the embryo is here, which will give rise to the plant, and as such the entire green region that you are seeing here is rich in proteins, and that is the endosperm. The growing embryo takes up the protein, takes up water, and can give rise to a new plant. Now if I am trying to break open this seed and I am going to put it in the soil, it is seen that I cannot get the plant because here the embryo is exposed and the embryo is not protected and the embryo is not getting enough nutrition. Now because of all these reasons, we see that if I break open the seed and I plant it, I am not going to get the sapling. Also, suppose I have taken one pea and one chickpea or the pigeon pea or any of them and have tied them together and have put it in the soil. Even then, I will not get a plant because the food, the proteins, the nutrients which the embryo gets are totally different. Also, there might always be a chance that the embryo is broken. Now, because the embryo is broken, it is fragmented, it cannot give rise to a complete new plant. So it is for this reason that we cannot do a kind of crossing in the seeds. We can do crossing, grafting, and many such techniques in case of stems, or with the new possible techniques with the use of biotechnology, I can mix and match the genes but not the seeds. Hence, we can always say that the seeds are the blueprint of the tree or the plant. So these seeds, because they have the ability to give rise to a new plant, has to be taken good care so that surrounding us we have beautiful greenery, and also we are helping the plant to grow its progeny. I hope your doubt is clarified. Let us come up in the next session with a new doubt, new question, so that we will try to answer what is the nature around. Thank you.